I know what the heck is going on with the story?
You know, that's something we also spend a fair amount of time making sure that you're going to be successful. One, if you pick up the controller and you want to play as Point Man, and you've never played a Fear franchise game before, we're going to give you a little bit of story. And throughout our story, we make sure that we go back and we retell and give hints to what's happened in the past. So absolutely, if you've never played a Fear game before, you're going to be able to step into this game and it's going to make sense. That's what's really important, right? The story's going to make sense. And for us, the thing that we did to make sure that happened was we focused on just the family relationship. We focused on just the brothers. It's a very simple theme. You know, you have Alma's their mother. The brothers don't really get along. There's that constant tension. It's a story you can really grasp and hang on to.
Dan, let's talk about the mech sequences in Fear 3. I know in Fear 2 they were intended as a sort of palate cleanser, a nice little reward to just go on a rampage after a particularly tough section. But you guys are more integrating that into like the basic gameplay as well. You want there to be some challenge with the mech parts.
Yeah. Really, it's about keeping that tension. So the mechs are not a palate cleanser. Absolutely not. What they are is, yes, you get inside and you feel super strong, and then you realize, you know, you got to be careful. You are not invulnerable in these things, and you have to work together in co-op. If you watch Kai, I'm sure there'll be a bead of sweat rolling down in a second. This is pretty tense.
David Gabriel from Phoenix is wondering, will there be any cameos from other characters from Fear games? For example, Beckett?
There's about 5 things I can't tell you. That's number 3.
That is one of them. All right. Michael from Chicago is wondering, in addition to what we're seeing here, the demolished freeway out in the water, what other sorts of environments do we see in the game?
Well, actually, here at E3, we're allowing folks to come in and see one of our village levels. This is pretty cool. It's this sort of destroyed village, this suburban townhome section, where these survivors have been living for this last 9 months and have pretty much gone crazy. And I mean, you were inside the townhome itself. They're writing bloods all over the walls. It's absolutely nuts. And it's very, very tense. You're working your way through 3 stories, fighting these survivors that have been in that space, and it's just absolute mayhem.
Yeah, and I noticed that with that other demo that you guys are showing at E3 relative to this one, there's a lot more flashbacks, a lot more like mental tricks being played on you.
Yeah, you know, when you look at Fear and you look at the things that the Fear franchise has done in the past to really sort of captivate the audience and get you to feel that sense of tension, that sense of being afraid, it's been really important for us to sort of do those flashbacks and remind folks about that tension, remind them about what the Fear franchise is about. In a lot of cases, we want to make sure that we're going back and we're talking a little bit about maybe the boys' childhoods a bit, and we're bringing in some of those other characters from the Fear franchise that you were talking about earlier.
Chris Molo from, okay, this is creepy. In location, he entered behind you. I don't know if he's actually behind me, but Chris, that's creepy as hell. You're lucky that I'm going to ask this question. Is there friendly fire, or do you not have to worry about shooting each other?
We talked about that a lot. There isn't friendly fire. We want to make sure that you can't sort of grief your buddy. We do want you to sort of work in co-op, so we didn't have friendly fire on.
Their relationship is already strained enough. Yeah. You don't need to add friendly fire on top of that.
Exactly.
You know? I would not want to imagine what would happen if these two were able to hurt each other in combat. Let's see. Hein Van Hoof from Belgium is wondering, how many different enemies are there? What are the different types of enemies that you encounter?
There's a whole suite of enemies that we've got. One of the things that's pretty cool about Armacam in this game is that they've built this new technology in phasing. So we have a suite of Armacam characters that if you've played the Fear franchise, you're going to know pretty well. But there's a whole new, almost 2.0 version of those characters with phase casters and a couple other characters I can't tell you too much about. And then also on the paranormal side, we wanted to make sure that we offered some new characters. And you saw some of those with the scavengers that can climb on walls. It's very much a rich experience from an enemy AI standpoint.
Alex from Romania keeps sending in this question, and I have to imagine the answer is yes. Is Alma in Fear 3? You already talked about her earlier.
Yeah.
She's definitely
Absolutely.
in Fear 3. She's a little bit central to the story, actually. Lucas is wondering, split screen?
Yep.
That's in there?
Yep.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that actually. Questions just keep pouring in. Alex from Romania. Come on, just ask. Is Alma in Fear 3? At least he switched it up that time. Alex, I asked you your question. I hope you're pleased. Tim Clark from San Diego is wondering, is Fettel able to manipulate the geometry and the objects in the world?
He can, yeah. There's things that Fettel can see, very specific things that Fettel can see that he can pick up and effectively explode. Or he can pick them up and allow Point Man to go to guns on it in slow-mo and get some pretty spectacular results.
Rory Kent from South Bend is wondering how storytelling works. Is it going to be like text-based, or is it going to be like cinematics that we see?
It's a combination of cinematics, in-game moments where you're going to really experience the brothers' relationship. So the story's going to unfold with the brothers. I don't want to give away too much, but it's basically following the brothers through this. In a lot of cases, it's Fettel who's in your head, who's giving you a lot of the key information that you need, as well as maybe a couple of other characters that you know of from your past.
Let's see what other kinds of questions we've got coming in. I swear half of these questions are from Alex from Romania. Alex, I have to say, I applaud your tenacity.
He's not the guy behind us right now, is he?
I hope not. Jake Remnant from Kimberly is wondering how many powers are there. I assume he's talking about Fettel and his different abilities.
Fettel's got 3 main powers. He's got Stun, he's got Suspend, and he's got Possess. But then really what happens after that is that he becomes the AI and basically takes over their powers. So if they've got a rocket in their hand, he's now has the ability to use the rocket. If they've got an SMG in their hand, he's now very much a shooter guy. Also take over, this is interesting, you take over the melee qualities of whoever it is you're in, and we have some very unique characters that sort of have some unique melee in Fear 3.
Stephen Magnusson from Sweden has a very interesting question. If one player runs too far ahead, what happens? Does he spoil the surprises for the other player?
No, what we wanted to do is make sure that the brothers are linked. So Fettel is tied, he's psychically linked to Point Man. And what happens is that if Fettel decides to go off too far, and wanders in or wanders out of sort of Point Man's area, and they get too far apart, he will tether to Point Man.
Because he's a ghost, right? He's haunting his brother.
Yeah, that's absolutely haunting his brother.
That's pretty much his mission in Limbo is to.
That's the thing, is that if you're playing it in single player, we wanted to make sure that Fettel wasn't. We didn't want to have Buddy AI that was for 2 reasons. We want to make sure that if you're playing Fear and you play the Fear franchise, you have that opportunity to play the game alone if you want to.
Right.
And that, the second thing is you don't want Buddy AI to steal your ammo or stand in the way of you where you're trying to shoot something. But we really wanted to make sure that it was Fettel who was in your ear. He was sort of speaking to you. He was making it spooky. He was adding that sense that he's crazy and that tension in the game.
All right, Dan, Kai, thank you very much for joining us on the show. I appreciate your time very much. Kai, you did quite well. I don't think you died once that whole time. I'm impressed. So, guys, that will just about do it. Actually, wait, one last question.
Yeah.
When is the game going to be out in stores, and what are the platforms?
It's coming out this fall, and it's on the 360, PC, and PS3.
Cool. Thank you again, guys.
Right on.
So, yeah, that's your look at Fear 3. Now let's go check out what's going on at the Namco Bandai booth.